Candida. Here we are.
Mental health goes to school.
Mental health goes to school. I am Joanne Berry, special educator.
And I'm Dr. Candida Fink, child and adolescent psychiatrist. And if you can give us a few minutes of your time, by the end of this episode, you're going to hear our top three. Each of us have top three recommendations for what we think, after all our years of experience, can be the top three things you can do to support your children or your students' mental health related to school and improving their well-being.
Right. And just as a reminder, we mostly focus on middle school and high school and maybe a little bit into college, young adult years. We found over the years of our conversations that there really isn't a lot of information for parents and people in schools, educators, clinicians, other folks on the intersection of mental health and education for that age group. There's quite a bit of stuff on younger kids, but a lot less on the middle school, high school, into college years. So those are that's the age group that we mostly work with. And we wanted to we found that we were having some really great conversations. So we wanted to be able to share that with other people, hoping that just hearing some of this would be helpful for parents, for teachers, for clinicians working in schools, therapists, whoever works with this age group, and helping with some of the challenges in those years.
Yeah, and we really want to be able to bring actionable ideas about things you can try. And we want to hear from you if there are things you're doing, or if you have specific questions, and we can sort of put our expertise to work and gather other people's experience and expertise, so that this can be a place where we can think together about real solutions and things you can try to some very difficult problems that many families are encountering, that many teachers and schools encounter, related to how mental health and education interface, both, mental health issues in school and how school is a part of mental health. School, demands and school outcomes and things going on at school affect children's mental health, and how. Right. So, it's both ways, right? How children's health impacts school and how school impacts mental health, and so many things that come up. And we've already, we're up almost to 30 episodes now, and there's so many good questions and conversations. But, Joanne and I have been friends for, we'll just say decades, shall we?
A long time.
Since college, and came from very different sort of backgrounds, but have been best friends among a really wonderful group of best friends over the years, and took kind of different paths. I kind of did a direct line from college to med school to psychiatry. Not entirely. I briefly stopped, thinking I might be a singer and dancer, but that did not work out. So back to med school I went, But then we forged some of our most interesting sort of learning experiences at that age in the theater world, right? The theater group at college.
Yes.
No crises, only opportunities for growth. That was a famous quote we had. Anyway, so that's sort of the background long term. And then I ended up in child and adolescent psychiatry. And Joanne, you ended up in special education with teenagers.
Right. Not thinking that would be my path at all. When I graduated from college, I was not interested in furthering being an educator or anything like that. Did a bunch of different jobs. Did go back to school, got a master's in teaching. Did not get a job right away in education. I did work with the YMCA, which was related.
Yes.
That education was very helpful in that part of my life. Did a couple other things, and then now I work at a therapeutic day school, teaching English, which was not my background, but that's okay, and working with mostly 11th and 12th graders. We do have 7th to 6th or 7th to 12th in our school, small school, working with students who have many different profiles, anxiety, depression, more serious mental illness, gender identity issues, general identity issues, all sorts, learning disabilities of different sorts. So all mixed and matched within any one particular student. So I have small classes, but many of our students go to college or further their education either directly or taking some time to figure out what they would want to do while they work or participate in a transition program. There's plenty of those out there. So that's, and then, as we said, Candida and I discovered that much of what we were talking about just isn't out there in that perspective, in that format.
And we were just sort of informally over the last, as you were teaching and spending more time in teaching, and we would just be chatting about our work whenever we got together. It was like, oh, well, I'm encountering this and you're encountering this from that other perspective, something about ADHD or anxiety or a student who's struggling to do their work or get to school or regulate their emotions. We were also both we're still parents, obviously, but we were, and as our kids were growing up and getting from high school into college, so we would be sharing those developmental stories as well with each other. And then the pandemic hit.
Right.
And we were having weekly meetings with this same group of college friends. And these conversations would come up just even among the group. And somebody said, hey, you guys know a lot about this stuff, and there's so many questions and the mental health crisis in this country. You guys should maybe do a podcast about it. And we were like, well, it does seem like there's not these sources of information out there about the intersection. There's plenty of conversation about sort of the, quote unquote, mental health crisis in youth, but very much at this particular intersection of psychiatry and education. I think we found there was a big gap. We went looking and we couldn't find it. So here we are. And we've talked so far in these episodes about a lot of interesting topics. But we're going to leave you today, I think, from each of our perspectives, our top 3 recommendations for supporting your child's and students' mental health and mental well-being. Joe, you want to start?
Sure. So I would say my top thing is prioritize sleep. I know for myself, if I don't sleep well, I can't function well. And I've even had students say, you know what, I had a really good night's sleep and I feel great today. That doesn't happen very often that they tell me that, but it definitely makes a difference.
Huge,
I mean, anyone knows if you don't sleep well, the rest of your day just is not going to be as good.
Right. And thinking and mood, right? Like, it's not just like you don't think as well, you don't focus as well, you don't regulate your mood.
You just feel yuckier. So prioritizing sleep, which means limiting screen time, which is my second thing. Definitely there should be a shutoff time.
Right.
Most of the experts say, a couple hours before you go to bed, whatever. But just limit the screen time, both for sleep and for other reasons, including you should do other things like go outside, move around, and students will freely acknowledge that if they get too focused on their screen time, they aren't doing other things like exercising or going outside or just interacting with their friends in real life.
Touching grass, as the
saying goes. So those are my top 3: sleep, limit screen time, and move, go outside, do something.
Sunshine and movement, or outdoor air and movement. And
yes.
Yeah. And those, of course, very much profoundly overlap with mental health recommendations. And the top 3 things that I find I'm talking about the most often in my office and that we talk about a lot. Number 1 is working on on being an active listener with kids, to take the posture of listening more than talking, right? We want to give kids space to talk and we want to be able to listen. Not every kid is going to take that space or want to talk, but unless we give them the space, we'll never give them the room. We'll never know, right? And we tend to do, and I've done it as a parent, as a doctor, like sort of a lot of telling of kids what we think they need to know or what we want them to do. Just expanding our interactions to include a lot more listening, and active listening being present, not just preparing for the next thing we're going to say. That's a big thing. That's what active listening is, that you are present and listening and not in your head going, well, what I need, the next thing is for me to say. Listening. Number 2 is emotional validation. We've talked about this a bunch in our different episodes and just in general. Kids' feelings, we validate and respect their feelings, right? We can't tell them how they feel. We can talk about ideas about what to do with those feelings or how those feelings may sort of interface with a certain situation. But how a child or teen is feeling, we have to start with, wow, I hear that sounds like that is very painful, or even something that may seem trivial to us that is very important and exciting to them, to validate that, because at that age, that's what's important to them. So validating the emotional experience is a key starting point for any conversation where you're going to have anything that you can move forward with, whether it's a kid or a student. You can't say, well, how can you feel that way? Or why are you depressed? Start with validating the emotions. So that's number 2. Number 3 is generally, an approach of collaboration as opposed to control. Of course, as adults, we exert control over children. We make demands, there are expectations, but an approach that seeks more collaborative work, especially as kids get older and they're building skills for, more independent thought and action. I mean, that starts young, but as opposed to always talking about or thinking that controlling young people is the way to go. So collaboration, again, and this is all a theme of communication, right? And hearing and listening and problem solving and staying connected. So those are the 3 that would come from my end, from the mental health end. And so they're all important. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you have a top recommendation that you would make, how you support your child or your student's mental health? We'd love to hear about it. Or if you'd love to hear us talk more about any of these things or any topic in this space, we'd love to know. So you can find us at our website, mentalhealthgoes-to-school.com. You're clearly listening to us here, potentially, so you know where you found us. And what is it we're supposed to tell people at the end, Joanne?
So please like, rate, and review. So just hit the thumbs up button, please. Rate. So I think the podcast things have, the podcast platforms have star rating, 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. Please do that. And if you have a minute, pop in just a quick review. And it could even just be loved it, liked it. Yeah. It was okay. Whatever.
It can be an emoji. It can be anything. It's just, if you put something in that comment section, it just really helps build our platform a little bit and build the conversation. If you put it, just to follow us, so you will get the automatic reminders of when the new episodes drop. And so that way, again, and we're anywhere you find your podcast, you can find us. now that we're video, we have a YouTube channel at Mental Health Goes to School on YouTube. We really, that's what we're here about, to talk together, because we have fun doing it, and we feel like this is important stuff to chat about. But we really would love to get other people's insights and thoughts and questions, and make this conversation a little bit broader. We try to end with one good thing each. You have a good thing, Joe?
Well, both of us have a similar good thing. We both have new grandbabies.
Yay!
Who are just adorable. We haven't seen each other's in person, but we've seen the pictures, looking forward to seeing the little one again.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yep. Yeah. We both. You have a granddaughter. I have a grandson. They're like literally a month just about a month apart, and they're both still in their first few months of life. So they're very little, and we are just delighting in seeing our children become parents. And you've already a grandparent, so but it's every time, I imagine, it's just as special. And
Yep.
so we've really been having a lot of fun in this new stage of our lives. And so join us for some fun conversations talking about important topics. We try not to take ourselves too seriously, but the work and the information is important. So we'll see you on the next episode. And thanks for joining us here at Mental Health Goes to School.
Toodaloo.